Hello, everyone. I am Abby Vermeulen, the administrative assistant at the Orange City Public Library. I'd like to thank everyone who is here right now and who will watch this later on our YouTube channel. I am here with Libby Karssen, who is a local dog trainer. And with that, she has a couple of therapy dogs, certified therapy dogs. So we're going to have the dogs in at the library a couple times throughout November, at least, we have scheduled. And so we're really excited for that. We'd like to be able to start by learning a little bit about therapy dogs and what they do, how they can be useful. And so, yeah, we're really excited to have you here, Libby. I guess I'd like to start with what got you interested in dogs in general?
Funny, I've always loved dogs ever since I was little. Instead of an imaginary friend, I had an imaginary dog.
Yeah.
I always kind of knew that working with animals was something that I really wanted to do. I didn't know that dog training, growing up, I didn't know that that was really a profession of field that I could go into. So I actually graduated high school here from MOC, and then I went off to college and moved away to Colorado Springs, which is where I found out you can become a professional dog trainer, which was really great because the city we were living in, Colorado Springs, everyone has a dog or two or three. And so there was a lot of ability for me to really get into it. So I did an online program, and then I had a hands-on part of that program for my certification for dog training as well. So I got a lot of hands-on time. I learned a lot while I was in Colorado for a few years. And so I have 3 dogs of my own that I acquired when we were living in Colorado. I have a 12-year-old dog named Buddy. He loves to go places, but he doesn't like to work. So he usually just stays at home. And then my other 2 dogs are therapy certified with me. 4-year-old Lottie, which is a very big dog. You'll see her in a bit. And then Layla, who's a 5-year-old little black dog, and you'll see her as well. So yeah, we've been really been doing a lot of training since I acquired them. We also do like competition stuff. I teach private training and group classes, and I love my job. So working with dogs is definitely my passion. So and I'm really happy to be able to share how happy they make me with everybody else too. That's why we decided to become therapy pairs.
What is a therapy dog, I guess, is what we should start with. Yeah.
Therapy dogs can get confused with a lot of other different types of working dogs, you could say. So there's therapy dogs, which often get confused with service dogs or emotional support animals. So a therapy dog, their job is to go with me. So we're certified together, me and a dog. And so we are invited to go to a location, and then my dogs give all their love. That people are able to pet on them, to talk to them. Once in a while, I'll let people treat them, do fun tricks with them and whatnot. But they're able to help other people. So they don't do any service for me, but for other people in the community. They're very often used for visiting children in the hospital, or, you know, people living in the nursing home, which is something I'm doing locally here as well. And then on the other hand, there's the service dogs, which that classification is that dog specifically works with the handlers. So they're used instead of a piece of medical equipment. So there's like diabetic alert dogs. There's dogs used for mobility so that a person doesn't have to use a walker or a cane, all those sorts of things. So a therapy dog goes out and does stuff for other people, and a service dog works strictly only for their owner or handler.
Which I had a question. You emphasized that you are invited to places. Does that mean you usually don't say, would you be interested in this? They have to come to you.
Both. Since I actually just recently moved back here to Orange City, I knew that not a lot of people knew that there was a therapy dog team. I know that there is already one here locally who has done work with the library, but I wanted to be a part of that as well. And so I reached out to the Orange City Area Health System, also to the library, and I'm working on getting my information out to maybe some local schools that would be interested in having me come visit with my therapy dogs as well. So I am putting, I was gonna say myself, but ourselves out there for people to know that we're around. But yeah, we have to be invited to be able to come.
Okay, so there is a question here. It's a really good one. What is the difference between a therapy dog and an emotional support dog?
So an emotional support dog is more like a service dog where they just do work with their human, with their person. And a therapy dog goes out onto location and visits other people. So an emotional support animal gives emotional support to that person. Typically, they don't have really strict jobs or tasks that they're required to do. They just are a wonderful companion, essentially, to have with that person so that they do provide that support for them.
Okay, and so when they guessed in their question that an emotional therapy dog is strictly for the handler, that would be correct.
The emotional support animal, yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Good. So what do therapy dogs do when they're with these people that they're visiting?
So mostly I take my dogs to local nursing homes or care facilities. And so we set up kind of a nice little group for people. We all sit in a circle, and then I'm usually in the middle with either Layla or Lottie. And we go around and Layla or Lottie will say hi to all the people. Everyone gets to love on them, gets to talk to them. We get to show off some of our fun tricks and different commands that we know. So it's kind of like a therapy is, a therapy visit is us giving emotional help to those who are visiting.
So yeah, so as you were talking, one question came to mind. Why would someone pick, and I know that you're doing therapy dogs, but you did know a lot about emotional support animals. Why would someone pick a dog over a cat or another kind of animal as a therapy dog or as a emotional support animal, Libby?
So when it comes to doing therapy visits, I believe the main animal that is chosen to be acceptable to go into locations is a dog. I've always just been more of a dog person. I never grew up around cats or horses or anything like that. When it comes to service, a dog or a small dog. But when it comes to emotional support with you and just spends time with you to give you that help, then you can use a cat. You can have a cat rather than a dog. I don't believe horses are part of that classification as well. But there are actually rules and regulations for all of these things. And so that's how we're able to make sure that we're doing things appropriately. There's certifications that we have to go through for the therapy work, which is great, to make sure that we're checking all the boxes, making sure that those animals are well prepared to go into those new locations with people and such. So a lot of times it's personal preference, whether you would like to have a dog versus a cat versus a horse, but it all does depend on what kind of job that animal is going to be needing to provide for you. That a lot of times makes the biggest difference.
Thank you for that. I do have a follow-up question from the audience, and it may be something you'll want to answer later, but is how do you cover yourself and your dog's insurance-wise?
So what's great is that the organization that I use for our therapy work, I have to be registered through them. So I pay a small yearly fee, and we as in myself and my two dogs, we go through a test actually, to make sure that we are well qualified enough to be able to do therapy work. And with that small fee that I pay each year, we are covered with that that organization's insurance, so that by chance, if anything were to happen, that we would be covered in those sorts of situations.
So we were talking about what things therapy dogs do. From what I understand, there are some things therapy dogs also don't do that dogs sometimes usually do. What kinds of things would that be?
That pet dogs don't do, or that other, like, service dogs?
Pet dogs or service dogs. Take
Okay.
it however you like.
So with the therapy dogs, a few things that they are not supposed to do is that they're not supposed to be overly excitable. So when you bring your therapy dog to a location, you want them to be calm, because you want them to bring that calm presence with them, rather than being a crazy, hyper energetic, super fun puppy, which also can be fun, but isn't necessarily for everyone. So the dog needs to be well-mannered. The dog needs to be able to listen to you and the commands that you give them while you are there on the visit. The dog needs to not be jumping on any people or being, doing any sort of crazy behaviors like that as well. So mainly just to be really well-mannered, be able to be around a variety of different types of people and different environments as well. Because, there's a big difference between going and doing a therapy visit at a nursing home or a school versus a really crazy busy hospital with a lot of equipment going on and wheelchairs whizzing by, and all those sorts of things. So the organization that we are certified through, your dog has to be a minimum of 1 year old, because that's generally about the age where the dog starts to acquire some more maturity, and then they're able to be that good therapy a dog.
Okay, yeah. And along with that, if they're at ease and calm in this variety of situations, how have your dogs reacted to the pandemic and how people are acting differently, wearing masks during the pandemic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question, because there are a lot of clients and other friends who have dogs who have told me that their dogs have taken the pandemic quite hard, just by, yes, people looking really different because now we have to wear these big masks, and that's something that is required by my organization as well, just for the safety of myself and everyone who we would be visiting, is that the mask is required. And so thankfully for my dogs, I have been so adamant on making sure that they were exposed to a variety of different looking people. So people of different ethnicities, people, little tiny toddlers versus really big, tall, regular people, people in wheelchairs, people who walk with a strange gait, people with really big, funny hats on, all those sorts of things, help to desensitize them, so that now, since everyone in the world is supposed to be wearing a mask, now it doesn't really bother them, because they're used to people having weird things on. I even have, dressed up in costume and done some fun stuff with my dogs as well in training, to make sure that all those different environments and scenarios won't be so difficult on them. But it's definitely taken a toll on us by us not being able to go out as much. I'm very conscientious, making sure that I am being cautious going out, especially with the pandemic going around. And so my dogs and I haven't gotten as much exposure that we're regularly used to getting, but that means that I've just been doing a lot more training in home.
Excuse me, we do have another question, and that question is, how much training on average does it take to get the dog to be a therapy dog? And then as a follow-up of that is, what is one way you would train your dog to make the dog not so excitable?
Gotcha. Yeah. Great question. So for therapy dog training, there are some dogs out there who are just born to be a therapy dog. They are they come out of the womb and they just aim to please, and they're the perfect puppy. Those are a 1 in a million kind of pup. But there are some out there who they are just born with a nice mellow temperament, and they just love all people and love to go places and love to do things. So those are the easiest dogs to become therapy dogs, versus a dog who, when you acquire them, if they're maybe shy around people, or really uncomfortable around other dogs, or don't like car rides, don't like to go to new locations, that would be a lot more difficult to try and train a therapy dog. But there are a few just normal guidelines that are highly recommended that your dog knows how to do to be able to be therapy certified. So a bunch of basic commands is what I highly recommend, as does the organization. So your dog to be able to listen to you when you go to those locations, your dog to be able to focus on you rather than, oh my goodness, I'm in this new place and look at all these things going on around you. So I mean, sometimes, you know, training can be nice and quick and easy, and people can do it at home by themselves just by, you know, getting some really good dog training advice or books or those sorts of things. And then I've also worked privately with a lot of people who have worked on getting their dogs to either be therapy dogs or service dogs. And that takes a little bit more extensive training, especially if, like I said, the dog is really rambunctious or gets easily distracted, all those sorts of things. But that helps with the organization having that 12-month age that the dog needs to be certified. There's that much of a higher probability that your dog will be successful during that test because they're a little bit more mature. So it does vary by every dog. Unfortunately, I know that's not a very specific answer. But some dogs, like I said, some dogs are just born to do it, and some dogs, they just need a little bit of extra help. But that year of, as soon as you bring that dog home to being a year old, that can make a huge difference in whether or not the dog will be successful being a therapy dog.
Yeah.
And what was the second part of that question?
It was to give an example of one way you can train your dog to not be so excitable.
Right, yes. So that's actually something that is one of the first things that I teach people to be able to do with their dogs, whether it's in private training or like the group classes that I offer. But I actually train my dogs to have a certain word that means that they need to focus on me. So pay attention to me. So that's actually a skill that I teach my dogs. Another thing that helps though is that if you give your dog a lot of exposure to those sorts of things when they're young, they won't be so fired up when they encounter those situations when they get older as well. So we call it socialization and desensitization in the dog training world. I know, quite a mouthful, but it's having your dog be exposed to all those people, all those places, all those things when you're younger. So they're like, oh, this is really interesting. I'm really, you know, intrigued with what's going on around me. And then in a few months after that, when you bring your dog to the same scenario, they kind of go, oh yeah, I've been in a scenario like this before. It makes it a lot easier to do a heck of a lot of exposure when they're very young.
Yeah, and that's a lot like with humans. The more you're exposed to something, you get used to it.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. We make funny correlations between dog training and humans. So sometimes it's very easy to be able to put things in perspective for people because dog brains don't exactly work like humans do, but there are a lot of things in common.
When did you get certified with your dogs?
Oh, let's see. Well, I have been working on their skills to make sure that they were able to be certified ever since I acquired them. I really took a liking to wanting to get therapy certified in the last year. When I was in Colorado doing all the dog training, I was so busy working with clients 5-6 days a week. I didn't feel like I really had the time to be able to devote myself and my dogs to having a very normal schedule of being able to go to a hospital or a school or something of this sort. So just in the last year, I've been really adamant on their training and exposure being out in the public. And so since we just moved here in February, I believe it was March, when I filed the paperwork and sent in the fee, and was able to get certified with my dogs.
Excellent. And you say that you were adamant about it. What made you so passionate about the prospect of having therapy dogs?
Over the last few years, so I've been training for over 4 years now, I believe. And in the beginning, it was very, very much a learning process for myself. I didn't really know what I was doing, honestly, right off the bat. Dog training is one of those skills that there's so much that you can learn from a book, but you learn so much more once you actually get to the hands-on things and be able to utilize those skills that you learned from my education into the actual dog training. So for the first few years, I still kind of felt like I was figuring it out, making sure that I felt confident as a trainer, and knew that I would be able to really handle any situation that was thrown my way wherever we would be. So I took a lot of time to make sure that I myself was really ready, and making sure that my dogs were good enough to be able to be a really, really good therapy dog. So I've taken just a lot of time to make sure that we were ready to pass the test and be able to go to these places without me having to worry about any sort of incidents happening or anything like that.
What are some of the observed benefits of people that have spent time with therapy dogs? What do they get out of it?
Oh, the biggest enjoyment, at least for myself, is that whenever we walk in, everyone goes, "Oh, they're here." They just get so excited that we're there to visit with them, and that gives me so much joy, just knowing. I mean, I absolutely love my dogs to death. I don't have children, so they're essentially my surrogate children. Spend every day with them. Essentially, my life kind of revolves around them. But I love them unconditionally, and they do to me as well. And so it's so wonderful for me and the dogs to be able to bring that joy to other people, especially people who they may not on a regular basis get a chance to even see a dog, let alone be able to love on a dog or have a dog love on them. So that's some of the biggest reward, is just seeing how happy that they make people when we visit. Just see that huge smile, see their eyes light up. That's really what does it for me.
Yeah, we need some big smiles these days.
Yes.
And what do you think people should know before they see the therapy dogs? What should they do or think before the event so that they get the most out of the experience?
Definitely to be well educated. I actually love when I go to new places and people just have a plethora of questions about my dogs or about the training that we do, or like we've talked about here, what exactly is a therapy dog? Because all the terminology and the different classifications, it can get kind of muddled. So I do love when people actually come to our visit with some really great questions, or any concerns, all those sorts of things I love. Also just to know that the only reason we are coming to that visit is so that you get to feel that love and you get to experience the soothing comfort of having that dog in your presence. It's been scientifically proven that a person who pets a dog, it only takes about 5 seconds of that petting, and all of a sudden, though the chemical balances in your body start to change. So it's a release of serotonin, which makes you happy, and some other chemicals as well. And so it really is more than just the emotional or physical being around them. It has a really big benefit to your body as a whole. The one organization that Layla and Lottie and myself are certified through is a organization called the Alliance of Therapy Dogs. There are actually a bunch of different organizations out there that you can get therapy certified through. There's the Alliance of Therapy Dogs, there is Therapy Dogs International, there are a bunch of different organizations out there. And the reason that I chose the Alliance of Therapy Dogs for us to be able to do our therapy work is because they are very, very conscientious about the people and dog pairs, and making sure that you have those requirements to be that great therapy person and dog pair so that you can go do visits. So the organization of the Alliance of Therapy Dogs, they actually require a background check, and they require you to do a in-person test of me with Layla and then also me with Lottie, being able to be around people who, like I said, have a funny gait or have a funny hat on, or, you know, a screaming crazy child. Is my dog able to remain calm in those sorts of situations? So I really love the organization that I was certified through, just because I know also that with that small fee, I know that we are covered by insurance. So if anything ever were to happen, that is kind of a little peace of mind as well. So if anyone is ever looking into having their dog become a therapy dog, I've actually had quite a few inquiries since I've moved here. Alliance of Therapy Dogs, I love their website as well because it lays it all out for you. Like, these are the things your dog should be able to do. These are the things your dog shouldn't do when you go to these visits. And so you're able to learn a lot more information about therapy dogs just by visiting their website as well.
There is another question, and it has to do with preparing your dogs for people with sensitivities to allergies or dog hair. What do you do to prepare the dogs so that you can reduce the allergens that naturally occur with pets?
Mm-hmm. So one of the other requirements of the Alliance of Therapy Dogs is that your dog needs, and person, dog and person, both need to be well groomed before you go on any visit. So my personal rule is that my dog needs to be bathed 24 hours within that visit. So prior to that visit, I do require that my dogs have a bath because I want them to not be carrying around any sort of dirt or dust or anything that they may have acquired outside, or any allergy that I don't know of that a person may have. If I have something like that in my home, I don't want my dogs to take that and give it to that person who we're visiting as well. So I have a 24-hour rule personally for my dogs to be groomed before we go on any visits. And also I don't use any sort of perfumes or anything like that on myself or my dogs before we go. And generally we do not use any treats when we're on our visit, just because I don't know if there are any people in the group who have any food allergies. And so there's a few precautionary measures that are either required by the organization or I have found to be really beneficial for us as well.
I had another question. When you go to the visits, do you usually bring one dog, one or the other, either Lottie or Layla, or do you ever bring both of them to the same visit?
Mm-hmm. So the rules per the organization is that when you are certified, I am certified with Lottie as one team. So we are one team together. And then I am also, on the other hand, certified with Layla, just me and her by myself as a team. And so when we do visits, I am only allowed to bring one dog at a time. The reason for that is, well, there's many reasons for that. One, my dog deserves my undivided attention to make sure that the person that they're visiting isn't doing something that may be detrimental to their health, or if all of a sudden my dog decides to be naughty and wants to jump on a person, my undivided attention has to be on them so I can quickly correct them and, you know, have them get down off of that person. So I do only do visits one dog at a time.
There is a question again. Because you're the handler and you spend so much time with your dogs, have you ever noticed any of either one of them shying away from others and sticking to you during the session, or do they go out and socialize?
Mhm. Depending on the day, we've had circumstances where it's both. Generally, my dogs, as soon as we go into a new location, they do get really excited to explore the new location and see the people who are there. What's nice is that now that we've had quite a few visits here in now that we've had quite a few visits here in Orange City, as soon as we pull up to the facility, my dogs start to get really excited. They know where we are. They know that they're going to go visit people. So Layla gets a bit of a happy tail. She gets really excited when she walks in the door. And so sometimes they know what they're there for, and they know that they're there to give comfort to other people. And then also I've had it though where people ask, do your dogs know any tricks? And so, yes, I have them do a few tricks, do a couple spins, maybe high five, shake, all those fun sorts of things. And then my dog just, okay, can I have a cookie now? Can I have a treat? So they can get a little distracted by that as well. But now that they've had quite a regimen of knowing that when we go to these sorts of locations, they have a bandana that they wear every time we go to a visit. And so I think that they're starting to understand that whenever that bandana goes on, we're going to visit people, you're going to share your love with others, not just paying attention to me. So that's another reason why I don't use a lot of treats during visits as well, not only for the food allergies, but also I want my dogs to realize that this isn't about me. This is about them spending time with all the people who we're visiting.
So Libby, you've said that you've been here since February and you've been going to different organizations in the community. How many days a week do you do this? Is it every day of the week, or do you limit yourself to the week and take the weekends off?
So through running my own dog training business, that's a business that I do training Wednesday through Saturdays. And then Tuesday is more of my administrative day where I get things done. And so there's Mondays and Tuesdays that I have available typically to do these visits. So I do have a nice schedule set up with one of the local care facilities so that we have this specific schedule set up so that one, I can make sure that I am getting my dogs out there. We're having these great experiences, but also it's really nice for the people who live at the care facility to have something to look forward to. I've had a lot of comments that they look forward to Monday afternoons when we get to do these visits with them. And so typically I like to set up times where we're available to go to new locations and do these visits. So it's not something that we do every day. Training is something that I do every day with my dogs, even if it's, you know, a small little 5-minute session working on our skills. So I am constantly working on my dog's behaviors to make sure that they're always ready for these visits. But I like the visits to be something special that everyone gets to look forward to.
Libby, so we've learned a lot about you today. How can we find out more about you after this interview is over? Do you have a website or you have information that we can direct people to or they can go to find out how to contact you and set up time with you?
Yes. So I live here in Orange City, right in town, and I do lots of training either in home with people. So a lot of behavioral issues. So say your dog isn't really too friendly with people and dogs. That's some in-home training. We also do group classes. So for little puppies, we have a little puppy preschool every Saturday morning that I offer over at Dutch Dogs. I also do a socialization walk, which we utilize the beautiful golf course that we have here in town, and we walk along the trail there. So it's a nice time for us to humans be able to communicate, ask any questions, but it's also a nice time for dogs to be able to socialize as well, being very conscientious that sometimes at those visits, there's really rambunctious dogs and sometimes there's really nervous dogs. And so that's a really great experience as well. And then I also offer group classes for obedience and whatnot. So if anyone's looking for a little help with their pup, more than happy to help you. You can visit my website, which is carsoncanines.com. Or we also are available on social media, Instagram and Facebook. We post a lot of things on there as well. Recommendations for training, other good things. So, or you could always give me a call if you have any questions or concerns about your pup. So there's many different outlets for you guys to be able to get a lot of different doggy information.
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming. This has been really fun and really informative. Um, for anyone who is listening or watching this, if you'd like to meet the therapy dogs, Lottie and Layla, you can. We will have them, or at least one of them, at the library on November 9 from 11 to 12 and on November 19 from 4 to 5. If you sign up, we would like you to sign up so that we can make sure there's a limited number with the space that we have, but it's totally free. So sign up, either come into the library or you can call us at 712-707-4302. And we would love to see you. And we're really excited to have the dogs at the library. Is there anything else, Lisa or Libby, that we should mention?
I would just love to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I love to not only share my dog and my own love of people and being able to be out there, but this is going to be a great experience for people to come in and learn a little bit more about dogs, especially if you don't have pets of your own at home. This is a really great experience for you to be able to love on an animal as if they are your own. So we're really excited to be able to do these visits at the library as long as you'll have us.
Yeah.
I would like to say thank you to Libby for coming and for our participants and all of our viewers who will be on YouTube. This has been a great session and I wish you all a very good day.